everyone. Welcome to our little corner of the internet called the Mustache and The Beard.com. Two Grey Geeks changing the world one post at a time. My name is Louis Matos. I am otherwise known as the Mustache, co-conspirator and co-contributor to the Mustache and The Beard.com, where we talk about genre entertainment, geek culture, and all the little things in between that make life worth living. Joining me today is my buddy.
Hello. This is Junior Figueroa, a.k.a. The Beard, coming to you from sunny Puerto Rico, where the women are hotter, the beaches are wetter, and the martinis are drier. Oh yeah.
Okay, awesome. As you saw on the title card, we're going to be talking to you about, we're going to have our second autopsy video. We're out here, it's night, the flies are biting, so
the mosquitoes are fighting each other as to who gets to bite us.
So yeah, I do a lot of scratching all the time because it's like, got to get them away, but listen, that's what happens.
It's Puerto Rico, baby.
Yes. But we are excited. We are enthused. We are enthralled. Yes, we are joyous because we get another opportunity to share with you our few thoughts on this thing in particular, which we call, well, the show is called The Boys.
The Boys.
And we'll be talking about it. We're going to be dissecting it, tearing it apart.
Flipping it over on its head.
Shaking it a little bit. See if anything falls out.
Anything falls out, I get to keep.
Yeah. That's pretty part for the course. And if not, we also put it back together again and see if we have something worth watching. All right, so thank you to my sister Dee, who suggested this. Like I strongly suggested it. She came for vacation. When was it? August? Early August? Yeah, early August. She came for vacation, and I picked her up at the airport. And when we got into the car, she pulled out her tablet and said, "You've got to see this.
You got to see this. You got to see this."
And exactly,
he's
I'm
driving.
trying to drive.
You got to see this.
Yes.
You got to see this.
And it was just the trailer at that point. It wasn't even out yet. But she was really excited. She goes, "We got to see this. We got to see this." And then it came out, but you know, she was on vacation. She was on vacation, and somewhere along the line, she went to the beach like almost every day.
The beach and going out and having fun and dinner, and somehow that became more important than watching TV. Go figure.
Yeah, ask me if I understand that. All right. However, we joke, we kid,
yes,
we play.
She was unable to watch it with her brother the way she wanted, but Louis watched it with me. I was a poor substitute for Dee. I was a poor substitute. He would have loved to have watched it with you.
Yes,
but he did watch it. He did listen to you. We watched it. Thank you.
Yeah, so we're not telling you what we rated it, but we kind of liked it a little bit.
But thank you, Dee, for making us watch it.
All right. So we want to tell you a couple of things before we go to a synopsis of the show. First off, it's not a Netflix show. It is an Amazon Prime show.
Yeah, that's right.
It went through several incarnations before they decided to go the Amazon Prime route.
It's based on a comic book, but it's an adult comic book.
Yeah, so there are some pieces that...
Yeah, you'll see why.
Yeah.
It was created by Garth Ennis, who is probably most famous for Preacher. for the comic series Preacher.
Yeah, it was 8 episodes.
Right, it was 8 episodes. We watched all 8.
Yeah. Okay, and so I guess without any further ado,
I wrote a brief synopsis to give you an idea of the series. The Boys is set in a universe where superpowered people exist. The general public believes these people to be superheroes that are monitored and controlled by a powerful corporation known as Vought International. However, while they appear as superheroes to the general public, in reality, they are arrogant and corrupt and vile. This group of so-called heroes is called the Seven. In opposition to the Seven is a group of ordinary people with justified grudges against supers and are out to get them by any means necessary. Now, which means there is an ongoing war between these two groups, the superpowered Seven and the ordinary, the Boys. The Boys are led by a guy named Billy Butcher. The Seven are led by a guy named Homelander, who can best be described as an evil Superman. Okay. Now, the series is about the conflict between these two groups, and the story is told by the newest member of each group. Hugh Campbell is the newest member of the Boys, and he joins because his girlfriend is killed by the super speedster known as A-Train. Meanwhile, Starlight is the newest member of the Seven. She's young and idealistic, and she is unprepared for the truth about the superheroes she idolizes. And then shock follows shock until the season finale will leave you stunned. Okay.
Yeah, that was a pretty good synopsis. Pretty awesome. All right. Is there something you want to say about anything before we get started on characters step by step?
Okay, well, I would like to say that there are familiar actors. Elizabeth Shue, Carl Urban. Mm-hmm. There are familiar actors, as well as some people you may not be.
Jennifer Esposito, Simon Pegg, you know.
Yeah, it's an interesting
mix.
You have, like in the case of Simon Pegg, essentially a star playing a relatively minor character. So obviously, that says to me that he loved the project.
Yep.
So the actors are first rate. The acting is first rate. The look of the show is on the money. It is on the money.
Right. Right away from the beginning, you already get an idea as to what the story is going to be. The fact that the Seven are that a company kind of employs the Seven.
Controls.
And so it controls and employs the Seven. So you're talking
markets them and merchandises them and
doing movies. It's just it seems so less than idealistic.
Yes.
You know.
Yes.
So already, you know, you see that from the beginning things aren't the way that they seem.
And the Seven is a thinly disguised Justice League. Mm-hmm. The Homelander is analogous to Superman. You have Queen Maeve, who would be Wonder Woman. Mm-hmm. Black Noir would be Batman. The Deep would be Aquaman.
All right, so let's go through them one at a time so that we're not overwhelming.
Right. Okay.
But let's start off with the Seven. And let's start off with Anthony Starr, who is Homelander. as the Beard said, an evil Superman. So think about having these powers.
Think about being that powerful.
Yes.
And being rotten.
Yeah, and so we learn as the story progresses that whereas Superman had parents, Homelander didn't have parents, didn't have the home life that you would need to be able to have some values. And so is it any wonder that somebody turns out bad who really doesn't have a family structure that's going to cause discipline and all that?
There's an old saying that says power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. And that is absolutely true of Homelander.
Okay. So that's one of the seven, the leader of the seven. And as the Beard mentioned, it's analogous to Superman. So think of a bad Superman and you
got Homelander.
Yeah. Next we have Erin Moriarty. She's Starlight. I put her here because that's where she was in the IMDb. She's Starlight. She's played by Erin Moriarty, and the actual name of the character is Annie January.
Right.
All right. So she is, as the Beard stated in his kind of what do you call it?
Synopsis.
Synopsis. Thank you. And for the synopsis, she's the newest member.
Right.
They lost one of their members. Their seventh member, one of their members, retired, and in retiring, they had a vacancy, and so they fill it with a young.
That's the problem with having a group named after a number.
Yes.
You always have to have that number.
Okay. And so so she's idealistic.
She's young.
She's cute.
She's pretty.
And the reason
she's powerful. She's a powerful character.
She's a powerful character. Shoots out light somehow. So that's her superpower. Seems impervious to bullets as well.
Yeah. Yeah, she's strong too.
Mm-hmm.
She'd be tossing guys around like.
Yeah, it's like all of the seven are super strong. So regardless of whatever their main ability is, they seem to all have strength as another ability. All right. So, is there anything else you wanted to say about Starlight before we move on?
Well, only that she's completely different than the rest of the seven.
Correct.
Whereas the rest of the seven are corrupt, she is young and innocent and idealistic. So she's one of the characters that you empathize with.
Yeah, and because she's, she hasn't been corrupted yet, basically. She's only been on the team for, I don't know.
No, actually, we actually see her joining.
Yeah, we actually see.
Being ushered into the team.
Okay.
Press conference and everything.
Yeah, the way a company would do it.
Right,
Roll out the red carpet, have a show, and all of a sudden she comes, actually have the old person give a speech as to thank you, I'm retired now, blah, blah, blah. They give the clapping, and then, and to show you the new person, blah, blah, blah. And,
right.
Of course there's a big, stage show and everything.
Media event.
Yeah. All right, so let's move on to the next character, which is really the number 2 on the team, is Dominique McElligott, Queen Maeve.
Queen Maeve.
Queen Maeve is a Wonder Woman rip.
Right.
I mean, let's face it, she looks like an Amazon.
Right. She acts like an Amazon.
Acts like an Amazon, but she's a little burnt out.
Yeah. More than a little burnt out.
Yeah.
And she seems to have a drinking problem.
She's got a lot of problems. And I don't want to go too many of them because, it's the fun of it is to find these out.
Right.
But, yeah, so she seems to have or have had at one point a good heart.
Yeah, yeah.
And she's conflicted. She's conflicted about whether...
Because she still has a conscience. Even though she's bought into the corporate line, right, and she's as corrupted as the rest of the seven, it still bothers her.
Right. So, it's always great when you have, in order to have drama, you could see, you can't have bad guys that are just bad.
Right.
You've got to be able to see their point of view in order to empathize, and if they're just a bad guy, then to hell with them. Let them die.
Right. You can't possibly care about anything.
Correct. All right. So that is Queen Maeve.
Mm-hmm.
The next person is the one that starts this story is Jesse T. Usher, who is A-Train.
A-Train. Take the A-Train.
And listen, this first episode, this is where we find the beginning of the drama, is that A-Train, well, the main character is Hugh Campbell, or Huey, and he is
ordinary guy
kissing his girlfriend, and she just so happens to be
she steps off the curb. They're on the
kind of like playing like let me kiss you, and I'll let me walk
and
let me
holding
let
her
me
hands,
and you know how that game goes,
steps off the curb.
And so there's a big event that occurs, and A-Train runs through her.
Literally runs through her. Huey is left with just holding her hands.
Holding her hands, and an ink spot all on the street. Pretty disgusting.
Yeah.
It's good with that. I mean, the show likes gore. Okay.
We did say it was based on an adult comic.
Okay. So yeah, so this guy is the one that starts things, and we'll talk a little bit more about that as we move along.
Yeah, that's the inciting incident. Everything else comes after that.
Episode 1, kind of like within the first 15 minutes. All right. The next character that we should talk about, well, the actor is Chase Crawford, who plays the Deep. And again, just like in the Justice League, he's Aquaman.
He's Aquaman.
An evil Aquaman.
With none of the charm of Aquaman.
Well, none of the charm of this, the one that is on the movie, Aquaman. Because for the longest time, Aquaman in the Justice League was a joke.
This is true.
And they kind of play off of that in this show as well. That he is a little bit of a joke, which is why he is the way that he is. He's a little bit... he says I'm the number 2 on the team. He tells the new gal. And, if you want to stay on this team, you have to be on my team,
He raped her.
Yeah. So we have a harassment that turns into a rape. Semi-consensual, but only consensual because don't want to...
He blackmails her.
Yeah, and she's the new girl, and I don't want to make waves. This is something I've dreamed about.
I don't want to get fired.
But immediately, I hated the bastard.
Right.
Point blank.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I said we weren't trying to keep this PG. I don't know, maybe that's a PG word, maybe not. Apologize, but not really.
No, it's appropriate. In this instance, with this character, it fits.
Yeah, alright, so, do do we keep on with talking a little bit about the Deep, or move forward?
No, that's enough.
Okay, let me now talk about Nathan Mitchell, Black Noir. We never see his face.
Right.
We never hear him speak.
Right. And he's got the stupidest name.
Right, because it's Black.
Because Noir means black, so his name basically is
Black Dark, or Black Dark.
Black.
And he's supposed to be Batman. It's a ninja.
It kind of looks like Snake Eyes from G.I. Joe.
But yeah, if we carry the metaphor from the the Seven to the Justice League,
right? He would be Batman.
He's Batman. I'm Batman. Number 7, I Kill Me.
And everybody else would like to.
Alex Hassel, who is translucent. He's the 7th member of the 7. And basically he's an invisible character. He is also a douchebag. He is
huge.
He's invisible. So where does he spend most of his time? In the ladies' room. And listen, let's be honest. A lot of us in high school, if we were translucent, I would have been there too, but...
technically, translucent means...
doesn't
mean
clear.
Mm-hmm. It doesn't mean invisible. It just means that you can see through it.
Uh-huh.
You can see it, but you can see through it.
Yeah, I know, and they make a joke about it as well. But yeah, it's you could tell that they're going for that. This team is not. They're not good people.
No, not at all. Not at all.
And yes, they do good things in saving people's lives.
Well, they fight crime.
Mm-hmm.
Except that it's kind of one-sided because there are no supervillains. So basically, what they're superpowered people beating up on ordinary criminals.
Yeah, dumb criminals.
Right.
Because
bank robbers,
if you knew that you could get caught by a superhero,
by a super,
would you really rob the bank?
Now again, also they do disasters. I mean, they do help out when in a natural disaster, and they do that part of superhero also. But really, it's an easy gig, and apparently most of it is public appearances
and shows and
signing and mall openings and.
You know how a superhero, we believe them to be altruistic, that they are here to help.
Out of the goodness of the heart.
Yeah, this is not them.
No, that's not them.
This is what would probably happen in real life.
Right.
You might want to, like Queen Maeve, want to do good and do good occasionally, but the opportunity to do bad, be right there and knowing nobody's going to stop me. Nobody could stop me. So.
And at one point they do establish that Queen Maeve at one time was Homelander's girlfriend. Mm-hmm. So it is entirely possible that he corrupted her. He is the type. So.
All right. So that is
the 7.
The 7. Now we're going to talk about
the opposing force.
The boys.
For who the show is actually named after.
Uh-huh. All right. So Carl Urban plays the Butcher.
Carl Urban. Yeah. You know Carl Urban.
Yes,
yeah.
absolutely.
Dr. McCoy in the new
Star Trek
movies.
Mm-hmm. So Billy Butcher. So immediately, if you know anything, you're like, okay, Billy Butcher is his name. Yeah, so you got to get a sense of, all right, this guy's going to do some grimy things too. He plays like he's an FBI agent for Jack Quaid. Jack Quaid is, again, the kid who, and I call him a kid, I mean a young man, who lost his girlfriend because A-Train ran her over.
Or ran through her.
Or caused her to be an ink blot. So Carl Urban flashes his
takes
FBI.
Advantage of his grief. Right? Flashes his badge. Claims to be from the FBI. And recruits him.
Well, yeah, and the recruiting process is after Vought, the company, comes with their little, bean counter, bringing him a check, saying, this is to help defray the cost of the funeral, and because you really weren't married to her, $40,000, that should be enough for your girlfriend, She was only a girlfriend, So here's a check, sign it, and with that, with the accepting of the check, you sign an NDA, a non-disclosure agreement, in which when people ask you questions, you say, the company took care of the expenses.
And the official story is that she stepped in front of A-Train, so it was her fault.
Yeah. Basically blame the victim. So, so after, the accountant comes and says, or the insurance adjuster, he comes and says, here, sign the check. Simon Pegg, Huey's father, kind of tells him, we could use the money, sign the check, but
he gets mad.
He's mad. I mean, think about it. $40,000 for a human life?
Of the girl you love.
But even so, it's like $40,000. It's pennies. Pennies for a life. Yeah, so.
So he's right. He's right to get recruited. And he does. Billy Butcher recruits him.
Yeah, uses his feelings against, A-Train to say, they're all bad like that. Mm-hmm. They're all, they nobody cares about, this girl. All right. Is there anything else you want to say about that? Okay. So let's move on to Laz Alonso. He's Mother's Milk, or Marvin. Mother's Milk is
his nickname.
But because he's a good guy.
He's probably the goodest guy in the group, which is how he got the nickname Mother's Milk. What was it that he did? What was his job before? He was helping.
Yeah, he was working at a kind of like a juvenile detention center. Where when he's recruited, he's working at a juvenile detention center. Pure heart, helping the kids like play basketball. They get into a little fight, and he's like, "Hey," and talks to them. Talks to them, counsels them. So this guy is like the salt of the earth kind of character.
And he's married, and he has a daughter.
He has a little bit of a history with another character that we're not fully engaged with. But the other character's name, he's played by Tomer Capon. He's called Frenchie. Frenchie is a munitions expert. He's ordnance and infiltration expert. So he's in this. He's been a what do you call it? A military, not an assassin, but a
mercenary.
Mercenary. Thank you. That's the word. See, I always know that you could provide the word when I'm like. Blah, 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 blah. All right. So yeah, the Frenchie is hardcore. Even though if you compare body types from Frenchie to Mother's Milk, Mother's Milk is jacked.
Really big, jacked African American.
Yeah. Whereas Frenchie is a thin, wiry guy, but he knows ordnance and stuff like that. But they seem to have an issue that is before everything.
Well, this is the actually, as we learn as the show progresses, this is actually the second incarnation of the boys. There was a previous incarnation in which both Mother's Milk and Frenchie were a part of, and someone named Mallory, their family gets killed, and that apparently split up the group until now, where Billy Butcher is reforming the band. Basically, he's reforming the band, and he brings in a new guy, Huey Campbell.
All right. Okay, so I'm going to talk about this other character called, she starts, the actress is Karen Fukuhara. She's Japanese, and she plays Kimiko, who is the only superpowered person on the boys' team.
And she's a nut job.
Yeah.
Or rather, she starts out as a nut job.
All right. Can we pause it? All right. So let's. Kimiko has a healing power. She's got strength, and she has the ability to kick butt.
She's very savage.
Yeah,
she's very strong.
She seems a little bit like a Wolverine type.
Right, kind of female Wolverine.
Yeah.
Especially when Wolverine was going through that feral stage where he was out of control.
Yeah, but no claws.
No claws, but really kick-ass.
Okay. All right, so I mentioned that there was Simon Pegg is the father of Huey, and Jennifer Esposito plays the CIA director. So familiar characters playing, kind of familiar roles, although Simon Pegg, he actually, when Garth Ennis, apparently they were working on a project together, he said when Garth Ennis asked him to be the father, he said, I think I'm a little too old to be playing Huey's father, but because Garth said, come on, do it. He's like, all right, no problem, even though it's a small role.
Yeah, it is. There's a big actor in a small role.
I really gotta go to the bathroom. I'm sorry.
Go ahead. I'll talk. Now, while Lewis is gone, let's talk about it behind his back. No, I'm only kidding. What else can I tell you about the boys? Production's great. It looks fabulous. The action scenes, superb. The special effects, superb. The visual effects. There's a lot of visual effects because Homelander, like Superman, fires lasers from his eyes. So that's a big visual effect, and it's done over and over again. And then you have Starlight, who projects light. So that's another visual effect. Very well done. Very well done. As I said before, basically the story is told by through the two newest members. Huey Campbell, who is the newest member of the boys, and Starlight, who is the newest member of the Seven. And both of them, they're similar at the same time as being opposites. In the way that they are opposites, of course, is one is male and one is female, and one is superpowered and one is normal. But they're similar in the sense that they start out enthusiastically joining their respective teams, but after a while they both become disillusioned. Starlight becomes disillusioned by the corruption that she sees within her teammates. They are not the heroes that she idolized. They're not good. They're not pure. They're not nice. Then Huey, he becomes disillusioned by how violent the boys are, and how their whole ends justify the means way of operating, and the fact that because of their previous history, the members of the boys often fight among themselves. So this is something that disillusions Huey. So basically, you have these two characters, Starlight and Huey, who are we're being shown the story primarily through their eyes, from their point of view. Like I said, in many ways they're similar, and in other ways they're the opposite. But they both go through this initially being enthusiastic about joining their team, and then being disillusioned by it. And then, not to give anything away, but these two happen to romantically find each other, which of course sets up a whole kind of conflict, because the boys are out to kill the supers.
And she's a super. I also liked the whole idea that, from episode 1, they make contact. They both have had a crappy day, and they're in Central Park. They happen to sit together, and she's just... Remember, she gave in to the harassment. Yeah. And so she's completely disillusioned and disgusted. And he just lost his girlfriend, and they offered him a check for $40,000. So she actually is on the phone. She calls home.
She calls her mother.
She calls mom. Come on. She calls mom, and she's like, Mom.
It's not like I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, and she goes, suck it up, This is what we've dreamed about, blah, blah, blah. And so instead of, the reason she called was, that she was going to tell mom. She was going to talk to mom.
She couldn't tell her.
Mom shut her down. And so the Huey is there in the park, and she finishes with her phone call, kind of heartbroken. And of course, he's a little heartbroken and mad. And
he's basically a good guy.
Yeah, he is.
Huey is really basically a good guy. And he can't just see her in distress. And so
they connect.
They hit it off. Not knowing, he doesn't recognize her as Starlight. So he has no idea at this point that she's a super.
Right. She's in her human, her alternate identity,
Right. She's dressed normal. And then he's not walking around with a sign that says, "Hi, I'm one of the boys
that want to kill superheroes." Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So, what else did you want to say about this? You pretty much have said everything, you think?
No, I was just talking about the Huey and
I heard that.
And Starlight. I think we should talk about our reaction now. Our reactions to the show.
Okay.
You want me to go first?
Yeah, because last time I went first.
I'll be totally honest with you. I wasn't that crazy about this show at first. I thought, not that the show was uneven, because the show was very well done from the beginning. The show was very well done. But my emotional reaction to the episodes was uneven. I felt like I was being in a roller coaster ride. Some episodes I liked, and then the next episode I wouldn't like, and then I would like one. Then it felt like if I was like this. Mainly because I was having trouble relating to the events because of the characters. They though looking back on it, I can see that it's not that they were holding back information, but they weren't very forthcoming in the information that they were giving. They were dropping it like tidbits. For example, who's Mallory and Mallory's family getting killed. Right now, we know that and that's what broke up the boys originally. But what? Nothing. Now we're being presented, for example, with the Seven, Homelander, who's this really rotten guy, but he's just a rotten guy, and so why? What, not that I expected to like him, but I find evil for the sake of evil with no explanation and nothing else two-dimensional. And how do you relate to that other than disliking the person? So that for me in the early stages of the show, it was putting me off. I'm happy to say that is not how the show ends. Okay, it is calculated. It is calculated for shock value. Maybe that's being a little too harsh. I think maybe for pleasure value, to give you more pleasure. It was calculated and left towards the end, not for the end, right? It's not for the end. They didn't, at the very end, all of a sudden vomit you with this information and everything. But they did save it towards the end. And I remember that I was there was an episode that I think it's the next to the last episode. I was so pleased with that episode. I was so taken by that episode, not only because they actually went into the background of characters, but these actors really got a chance to act. I mean, act with their eyes, not saying I'm happy, or I'm sad, or I'm
Anthony
angry.
Starr was absolutely
and the guy who seemed two-dimensional in the beginning,
the most two-dimensional.
Towards the end, there, his acting. We finished watching that episode, and I turned to Louis and I said, "Oh my God, I loved this episode." That made up for a lot. That made up that turned me around, and I have to admit, I was not disappointed with the season finale either. In fact, the season finale left me with, oh wow. And then we had to go to show you, we had to go pick up food. We had to go pick up dinner. And Louis asked me why I was being so quiet, and it was that I was thinking about the show. I was staring off into the space and thinking about what we had just finished watching. To me, I know when something is good because I can't stop thinking about it later on.
Uh-huh.
If a movie is good, if a TV show is good, I know because I can't stop thinking about it, and then I wind up talking about it. I'll talk to my girlfriend, or I'll talk to Louis, or I'll talk to my brother, or my daughters. I will talk to them about it because it's that good, and I stay thinking about it, which is what happened with the show. That's my reaction to the show.
And I had told him in our drive, I'm losing my voice. I had told him in our drive, it's like, Don't say anything about the show. Save it for...
Right, save it for the video.
Save it for the video. So, when he's quiet, I'm like, well, you know...
You can't talk.
You can't. You don't have to stay quiet about everything. But, as he said, he was already pondering. So, you're done with your reaction?
Yeah, I want to hear your reaction. Because we purposely did not talk... We have not talked about it.
Yeah, there are certain things that we won't talk about because of the fact
we
know that we're doing this.
Yes.
So why give all the information when the reality is it should be as organic as possible? Mm-hmm. All right, so I had a very similar reaction. The first episode left a lot of questions, so it really felt like it was just a sketch. You know, that was just a sketch with no color, no inks, just a pencil drawing. And so I'm like, okay, D, I think you steered us wrong. And then, second episode, ink being applied to the sketch. Mm-hmm. No color. And then... third episode, remember there's 8 episodes. So third, fourth episode, now you get hatching and cross hatching and shading. Still and shading. No ink yet. You're still not, so you're getting some detail, but
some depth. There's some depth being added to it.
But there's still no color and so the first 4 episodes are obvious. You say to yourself, well, if I had superpowers and there was nobody to oppose me, I might take a candy bar whenever there was one available.
Or if my girlfriend got killed by a super, I think I'd want to get even. I think I'd want to kill them all.
So it wasn't giving me anything that wasn't obvious. You know what I mean? So the first 4 episodes feel like I've seen the story before.
Yeah. It's nicely done. It's nicely told. It looks nice.
And to be honest, the evil superheroes, I don't think I've ever seen that done. But let me tell you, it's portrayed very realistically. So in that respect, so I'm getting a little bit, enough to make me want to keep watching it. But the 5th and the 6th episodes are where you start seeing the color. Then you start seeing some depth to the characters. And you're saying to yourself, all right, this is something.
Sorry to interrupt you, but isn't that around where Starlight makes that speech?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
She makes a speech.
I think that's the 6th episode, in fact.
Yeah.
And right near the end of that episode, you get this revelation where, and she does it at a religious retreat kind of a thing.
Right,
no,
so
not
it's an audience.
Uh-huh.
It's sort of like a convention, but it was a religious convention. And there's an audience. She's on a stage.
Carnival atmosphere with sparklers and everything.
Hundreds of people.
And her mother's there, and mother is like pushing, go, go, go. This is what you wanted. You're now on stage. I mean, she's been groomed for this her entire life. She's gone to pageants, so she's been groomed to do this. And then to be so thoroughly disgusted and dissuaded. I mean, she throws up like 3 or 4 times because she's just disgusted by the thought and then the actuality of having to be fake when all in her mind she's had this altruistic belief, I could be a superhero. I could save people's lives. I could make a difference. And then the Deep says, he pulls down his pants and it's like, get to it.
Get to it.
Yeah. So the first part of it, thoroughly disgusted. I mean, and as I'm watching it, I'm like, I don't know if I really want to keep on. But there by the end of every episode, it was like, all right, I could see myself going another episode. But yeah, episode 6 at the end. Well, episode 5, 6.
She delivers a speech that'll leave you breathless.
And 7 was the episode that Junior was like.
Yeah, that blew me away.
I like this episode. I think this is the best episode so far. And, it might have been. It might be 5, it might be 6, it could be 7. But those episodes start getting really, really strong. Mm-hmm. And near the end, yeah, it's just as the Beard said. I know him as Junior. Just as Junior said, you start to say, all right, this is a really intriguing series, and the characters here are more than two-dimensional. They are absolutely three-dimensional characters, and there are some twists that you're like,
shocks.
Okay, and they're distinct from the comic book series because as we're preparing for this, I read a little bit of the wiki and some of the background. And it's like they put in some real switches and surprises so that even the followers of the comic book can actually experience a very new milieu.
That's right.
All right. So those are my impressions. And as you can see, we're starting to get a little more, we're optimistic. So why don't you give us a rating, or is there anything else you wanted to add?
No. I think you summed it up nicely.
Thank you.
In my rating, in my opinion, with 5 Grey Geeks being the highest and perfect,
and I think 1 being absolutely abysmal.
Yes, if anything ever gets a 1, not only should every print be burned, but the makers should be taken out and shot. So,
in the most loving and Jesus-oriented way possible.
Of course. I would have given it 3. I'm going to give it a 4.5. 4.5. Can't say it's perfect.
No, it's not.
Can't say it's perfect. The man, they pulled it off at the end.
Yeah, the first 4 episodes are a little slow. And for some people, it might be a little slog if you're not a patient person. If superheroes are not your thing, there are some caveats that I'm going to throw in. But you will probably never see a 0 from us because, listen, if you published, if you made a film, you picked up a camera and filmed some events, you should at least get a 1 star.
Tell you the truth, I can only think of 2 movies that I would ever give a 1 to. Planet 9 from Outer Space is 1, and I mentioned it today, The Undertaker and His Pals. I think those are the only 2 movies I've ever seen that I would give a 1.
Yeah, and there are really some low budget crap movies that are
movies
you could see a miniature being moved and there's no special effects, and so those are the ones. But so here, let's get to the rating. I loved the story. I loved where it went. I love where it's going. I had a couple of issues with the moving it along, but again, there are some really good characters. The Starlight, she's cute, and but she's really young. I'm not gonna make the same excuses I made for In Another Life. This one, she could know better. She could know better. But, again, she's protected, and we see the mother figure, and it's like, yeah.
Played by Ann Cusack.
Correct.
John Cusack's sister.
Absolutely. Okay, the drinking game. Twice, I guess. All right, so for me, it is super good. The fact that it took a while to get to the part, I think I'm going to take a whole point away. So even though you gave 4.5 Grey Geeks, I'm going to give it 4 Grey Geeks. It's still a very strong recommendation. I would recommend that you try and go through it all by binge watching it.
Yeah, it's only 8 episodes.
It's 8 episodes. So yeah, watch 2 episodes every night, and
or watch it 4 and 4. I mean, whatever
however you can.
Yeah.
But yeah, the better, the quicker you watch between, the better it is to stay on the story. If you wait too long, the story gets a little lost and murky,
and you forget things.
And you forget the details that are concurrent. And so I think we dissected it again.
Yep. We flipped it on its head, and we shook it to see what came out, and then we put it back together.
I think so.
So we performed our autopsy. We did what we promised. That was our autopsy on the boys. And good news, right? You told me that apparently it's been renewed for a second season.
Oh yes, yeah.
So it's been renewed for a second season. There is a second season coming. So
they've already started the. Production for they started filming during the course of the summer of 2019, and it's scheduled for summer 2020. But a lot of the times, it all depends on what's on their schedule and how they want to go about. But if you look on Rotten Tomatoes, it had an 82%. So this thing clearly resonated with a lot of people.
Mm-hmm. So all that having been said,
if I ever get the music cued. There you go.
There you go.
So yeah, with that having been said, you have our appreciation for your attention and affection. Please continue to stomp that like button, touch that like button, tap that like button, caress that. Yes. Give it a little loving hug. Don't forget to comment. Tell us what we got right and what you think we got wrong.
If you disagree, let us know.
As always, we ask that you continue to support the site. This is Louis Matos.
This is Junior Figueroa.
For the mustacheandthebeard.com. Goodbye. See you later. Hasta la vista. And
peace.